Okay, the next thing we're going to do is update our connectivity information and also manage our contracts. Both are in the same place of the portal. You'll note the first three are the same. So portal.usac.org, click on the district name, click related actions. Those are the same on both. I'm going to physically do you a walkthrough in Epic and show you where it's at, but I wanted to go ahead and put it on the screen in case there are some of you who want to update this information later and are not quite ready to file because you haven't had your 28 days or even 1 day.
Mindy, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So I'm looking at this compare
and connect.
Are the numbers represented there transport and?
So that is an excellent question. So on Compare and Connect, some of the numbers are confusing to me. They are exactly what was put on the 471, and that is not always accurate. So if you're looking at this example, sometimes this could be transport. This is obviously separate, transport from internet. But sometimes you get a bid like that's a bundled connection from a cable company, Mediacom, Comcast, something like that, and you see a total amount, and it says it serves 5 entities, and sometimes that build was not just the connectivity to the district, but then connecting all the buildings behind it. A really good example of that is Robinson School District, because it gets a little confusing. Also keep in mind, the providers are really good about saying to a school district, it's the same cost if I connect you back to ICN or if I provide you just transport, which is causing a bunch of school districts to have hard, tough conversations with their board, why they want to stay on the state network. So you can see here at Robinson, we tried our best to break it out last year because we did have that problem. So the year before, it was listed all as internet access, and all of this was combined as one total, these two were combined as one total, and then we had Illinois Century Network is separate. And so last year when we did the application, we actually put it as separate lines, and that's what USAC prefers, that you have internet access from Century Network, and then you have transport between buildings, and then transport to Illinois Century Network. So this is a broken out section. This is actually the transport that comes into the district office, where these are the buildings, the school buildings for the students. I happen to live there, so I know the details. But you can see here, they all have their own, they have self-reported to them that they have their own connection to that final building. So there is an additional building in the district, but they own the fiber between the middle school and the high school. So they reported that here so that people doing comparisons, other school districts nearby with the same number of buildings could go, oh, okay, well, they have one free connection that they're paying for themselves. This is not automatically known. If you see that that is an issue with your data when you look at Compare and Connect, please feel free to click on Contact Us and tell them, hey, just a heads up, we have a second connection coming in that's not reported here. Or we have fiber between our buildings is also self-owned.
Well, the reason I asked is because with our internet and transport.
Internet transport bundled.
And so that number shows up on the Compare and Connect. But then if I look at a comparable school that they say is a per.
Right. And the math gets a little.
Per megabyte
right.
cheaper. And then
somebody
comes and says, hey, why are they getting theirs cheaper? Mm-hmm. Well, when I look at it, they're paying $500 more a month
right.
than we are.
Right.
For the same amount of.
But they may have more students than you, or they may have, a line between their buildings that they own that they've paid for themselves that you don't, that's not reported there.
Yeah, they're paying $1,360 for equivalent that we're paying $875 for, but it shows.
And here's, and this is maybe a little bit of a mean streak on my part, but here's my philosophy on it. That's for the provider to explain to them. If they look you up and they look themselves up and they say, wait a second, why am I paying $1,300 and he's paying $800? Then that's for the provider to explain, well, he has this and this, and that's why.
Initially, it shows that they're only paying $600.
Okay, but when you add theirs together, right, when you add, right, theirs is broken out and yours isn't, and so it's not, you have to kind of do the math to make it apples to apples instead of apples to oranges. Yeah, it's a little tricky. And I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, this, the per megabit price that puts on the chart, yeah, that makes for a really good story and gets people asking for better, but sometimes that's not truly represented. Like Galatia, who has they have double the bandwidth that they're asking for, but they don't have to ask for the first 100 megabits of bandwidth because that's provided in the charter of that group. So they only have to pay above and beyond their 100 megabits. So, but it is a little discouraging when you see somebody that's $4.93 next to somebody that's 58 cents. So you have to drill down and see the math and understand it a little bit better. All right. No problem. So, okay, we're going to go into the portal next. I do want you to know the step-by-steps are here on the screenshots in case you have to do it later. But we want to I'm going to go from the USAC page. So from the main USAC page, let me make that screen just a little bit bigger. From the main USAC page, we are going to click on schools and libraries. Notice over here in the corner from usac.org, it says e-file. That is all the other systems. Schools and libraries, it then turns to the EPC or the epic portal. I thought you'd like the echo. So the epic portal is, once you click schools and libraries, the shortcut is just to type portal.usac.org, and that will take you there. For those of you who are old school, who are used to clicking over here for Apply Online, they did change Apply Online to say now E-Rate Productivity Center. So both leads to the epic portal. And when we click on the epic portal over here, EPC, either one, it takes us into the system. For those of you who are following along here in the room, pre-prepared, you haven't been here for a while, you might have to update your password. Change that last number from a 3 to a 4. Be sure to write that down. We are using Hudsonville School District as our example today, so big thank you to Julie Kramer for that. So we're here in the Epic portal. Most everything that you need most of the time from USAC is going to be here in the upper right-hand corner of the page. However, at any point, if USAC asks you for something and you do not know where it is, right now I'm showing you the secret hiding place for everything that is on this portal that you cannot find. Click on your school district name, either here at the welcome or down here in the entities. It does have to be the district, not a building. And then from this page, you are going to click on Related Actions, which is your last option. So, School District, Related Actions, and now you get a slew of wonderful things that you could get access to. So, all kinds of wonderful things here. If by chance, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I wish my computer would just remember that I'm trying to make it bigger. If you have a change in administrators this summer and you have to get your superintendent out of the system and your new superintendent in, and they are the head of the system, please know Modify Count Administrators is right here on this page. If you decide that you are going to use a consultant, you can manage organizational relationships. That's right here on this page. If you want to create any of the various forms, they are also linked here as well as the main page. And in addition to that, there are the two that we are going to work with today: manage connectivity questions and manage contracts. So there are all kinds of things here. The two that I get asked about the most are the changing of the administrators and the rights, as well as the create a spin change request, because those traditionally have not been on the main page, and that's where people are looking for them. Note, it's sometimes the same form, but they will put it in multiple steps. So you have a spin change request to change the provider number from one to another if somebody gets bought by someone, or if you accidentally put down the wrong spin number for AT&T because they're everywhere. So you can easily do that here, as well as create a service substitution request. This is the thing that you would file if you could today apply for a 2500 switch, and then by the time you purchase it, the 2501 is out, and you really want to go with the 2501, you're willing to pay that $10 difference yourself, you would have to do a service substitution request and change one to the other. If you've already filed your 486 and gone through that whole process, and then you find, lo and behold, whoops, I forgot to do that, you can do a Form 500 to change that out as well. But most of the things that you will need are here on this page. We're going to come up here, and we're going to first do manage connectivity questions. It is pretty straightforward. It is self-reported. It is simply asking you, the first question here at the top, does your district aggregate their internet? Aggregate means share. If your internet comes into one place and then goes out to the others, it is aggregated. If every building has its own separate connection, it is not. If you are a single building school district, you can choose one or the other, I guess. It doesn't really matter. You either sharing with yourself or you're not. But it is asking, it does mean share. If you want to discuss at a break what that looks like and the different models of what that could look like and try to pinpoint what your LAN or your WAN looks like, we can do that. It then asks if you are aggregating, which Hudsonville School District does. They do share a connection with 2 buildings. What is your speed up and down? And asks you to self-report that. Her speed currently is 100. We are leaving it at 100 because that is what it is. She is upgrading to 200 in the application that we will file today, but we are giving the current statistics. Some people are putting the new. You're really supposed to put the current. I'm not going to yell at you either way. It's self-reported. Then on the next page, when you click Save and Continue, it asks you to break that down by each school. In their case, all of the 100 is legit shared. So it comes in and everybody shares it. Some school districts will have, say, 500 come in, and then they have 100 go out to each district. So that should be reflected here. And in order to change those numbers, you have to click Edit over here on the right. It is blue, though that's hard to see on my projection screen, to tell you that it's a link. And then it will say, what is your download speed? So if she had it coming in and then she had her network segmented in 50 and 50, we could do that. In her case, it is just 100 because it's flow through. Whoever needs it at that time gets it. It will then ask you at the bottom for each building, what kind of connection is it? Your options are fiber, wireless, copper, fixed wireless, copper, cable modem, other. So you have various things to choose from. And then it asks how sufficient it is. Again, this is totally self-reported, and this gives USAC and the FCC the ability to say 90% of the school districts in the nation say that their internet access, that their Wi-Fi internet access is not completely sufficient, and gives them some grounding to file and ask for money. So Julie and I had a long discussion about it, and she decided she wants to say mostly because she never wants to say completely. She's afraid if she says completely, she will be out the running for some money somewhere. So as long as it says mostly, she can still ask for money. I don't know that that's ever going to happen. This is Illinois. But then it asks you what your barriers are, and you can choose one. In her case, she chose equipment too costly, but any of these are your choices for why. So just simply self-reporting for each building. It is pretty straightforward. And when you're done with it, if you've made changes, you would say Save Changes, and it will save it and take you back to that page.
And is that download speed to the internet? Is that what you said?
Yes. No. Wait, is that download speed to the internet? What would the other option be? I'm just curious.
From like my central core.
Right. So this is internet. Yes. This is internet speed, not your transport. So your transport speed from connection to connection could be 1 gig, but you're only getting 500 megabits from the internet. It would be internet speed, yes. Good question. Anybody else? When you are done updating your buildings, just click Save and Continue, and it will lock that information in. It verifies and says, is this correct? And then you say Close. It will take you back to the page that has all of our options under Related Actions. Okay, so we have now updated all of our wonderful manage connectivity questions. The next one I'm going to do is manage contracts. Again, first 3 steps are the same. Click on your portal, click on district, and then related actions. Then we're going to go to manage contracts. There are some things I really like about this and some things that I don't really like about this. So the first thing that pops up is it says, these are my contract drafts. These are the ones that are in processing that you can practice with and you can play with. And you can put it in there and put in a new contract. Things will remain in your drafts until you click complete at the end. If you pull the pull down, it will show you all of your contracts. And you can see that Julie and I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how the system works and if we can break it. So there are a lot of pretend and blank contracts here. The one thing that is a bit misleading is if I click on my fake contract from yesterday that we worked on, I can't delete it. So once I have something in here and it's incorrect, it's in here forever incorrect, which is annoying. So for example, if you put in a new contract today and you decide to put in, you have a bid for category 2. A contract is anything that shows that you and the service provider are going into a deal together. So if you have a bid for category 2 and that is the one you've chosen with your matrix this morning, and you want to get it to be a contract, you should do one of a couple of things. Sign and date it, initial and date it today, and then show that you have sent a copy of it to your provider so that they can initial and date it. That is a contract per your USAC. It's not something that has to go in front of your board and be all legalese up. A contract is an agreement between the two of you. So you can take that bid, and then you can send an email to the provider and say, today I'm choosing your bid. We're going to go with you pending E-rate funding, and you could PDF that email. So you could attach 2 documents up, and you could have the bid and the email. You could have the one bid with signatures. If you put in and scan in the bid today, and you upload that as your contract, there will be a point in PIA review that they want to see something in writing. So take that bid back and get the initials and dates on it, or get that email sent so that you can show that you chose them after your 28 days had expired. Because that's a hard, fast rule for E-rate. So you have to wait your 28 days before you sign a contract. For most of our connectivity services, you have an actual contract, but a lot of cases you have that contract, you have something dated and signed, but it has to go before the board at the school board meeting next month for it to be official. You can sign and date something today that shows that you have told them we're going to go with your bid. That is okay. You do not have to wait 2 months for that signed official copy that goes through your school board. So USAC just wants to see that you waited 28 days and that you signed the contract before you put it on this system, that you have some kind of agreement before you put it on. Several of you look confused. Questions? Okay, all right. I'm going to show you how to upload a contract. I already have several fake contracts in here, so I will have those to work with when we do our demonstration. But you're going to click on Add New Contract, and then you're going to name it. I like this name. I love E-rate contract number 1. If you have a contract number, you can put it here. If you do not have a contract number, you can put NA. It does require you to put something in the box. So contract name, you may call it Internet Access, or you may call it the name of the provider, whatever you want to deem it. Click on Save and Continue, and it says, would you like to upload a copy of the contract? You can say no. So we can put the SPIN number and the information in here and not upload a copy. You will be asked for it in PIA review. So my feeling on it is go ahead and get that contract, put it on here, put the email that says I've chosen you today on here, attach both documents, have everything on here. It's one less question to answer in PIA review. But it says, do you want to upload a copy? And when I say yes, it then says, okay, what would you like to upload? And in my case, I am going to upload fake contract. And it scans it for viruses. Last thing we need is a virus at USAC. So scans the contract and attaches it, and it gives me a description over here on the side. So I can say over on my description, original bid. Then I can upload another document. This time I'll do an image. We'll do the matrix image just to show you that you can do multiple different kinds. I can do the other document, and I can say screen of email confirming bid acceptance. You can do as many documents as you want in order to spell it out. If you have a contract for each building in your district, you can add them all in one and do it as one big contract. If you want to do it as separate connections, you can do it as separate contracts. Totally up to you. This is just a good example of saying, here's my original bid, and here's my screenshot of the email confirming it. Again, don't be surprised if it does not have a date and signature if they ask you for it. Also, don't be surprised even if it does have a date and signature if they ask you for it. So it is, one of those spot checks that they do. It is a common request. It is not, I suppose it's okay, but I told somebody last week, no, it's not okay to say, well, it's there. Did you click on it and look at it? Probably should be nice to your PIA reviewer. That was a main complaint last week. They were like, they keep asking me for stuff that they already have. And I'm like, I'm sorry. That's why it's called review. So save and continue after you have uploaded those documents. This is the hard part of the contract. It is now asking you all these wonderful questions that you don't know what they mean. Is this contract based on a master contract? Unless you are using one of the state contracts that ICN has provided for you, the answer is no. So for most cases, it's no. It's not based on a multiple award schedule. Please note, nationwide, everybody fills out the same form, and in a lot of states, the answers are yes. Can other applicants piggyback off of your contract? No. And did you piggyback off of someone else? No. Those are allowable actions within the program. And then it says, was there a 470? Trick question. Yes, there was. There always has to be a 470. So, was there a 470? Yes, of course there was a 470. And then it says how many bids were received. This is where you would put, I got 3 bids, but I chose this one. And then it says, was your 470 posted prior to 2016? The answer is usually no, but if it is a 470 that was posted years ago and you're just now putting it on, you would need to say yes. 2016 was the year that the portal started. So they are distinguishing, was it something that was earlier than the portal? So it will look for your 470. If it was done in the portal, it already puts your bin number in. So you click search, and it will give you every 470 that has been filed within this portal. If you happen to have a bunch of them and you know the nickname or something, if you're looking at a paper in front of you printed out, you can put in that FCC number. You can filter by the things here at the top. So if you want to filter by funding year, click it a couple times. I think it does smallest to big to, there we go. And now I've got my most recent at the top. So this was the 470 filed for this year, category 1 and category 2. And by clicking on it, I am saying the stuff that I am purchasing on this contract was posted on this 470. Save and continue. And then it says, well, who is the service provider that you have chosen? So if you have an account number, you can put it in here if you have that document in front of you. And then you can do a search by service providers. Back in the day, we had to go to a separate website and look up the service providers, and we would go over to the whiteboard and we would write up all the spin numbers on the board so you guys all chose the right one. It is a pretty savvy search tool in here that does search for service providers. The problem is that your companies that you're working with like to be known as other companies. So, for example, Clearwave is Delta. AT&T, there are 500. Mediacom doesn't go by Mediacom. They go by something different. So, does anybody want to give me an example of a service provider? We'll try to.
Cass Communications used to be Green County. I don't know.
We're going to do a search for Cass and see. Cass Cable TV or Cass Telephone Company? I would say Cass Cable TV. Another one that's straightforward, Wabash, gets a lot. So you can see there, obviously the ones in Illinois are probably the right choices in this instance, and a lot of our smaller cooperatives are like this. There's a telephone and an independent networks. Obviously, internet, choose the independent networks. One that was interesting to me in a search was, and this will be the example that I use, CDWG. When I do a search for CDWG, I get nothing. But when I do a search for CDW, the name is actually in as CDW Government. So sometimes it throws you off a little bit. Let's see, there was another one. You have to, somebody said Illinois Bell. Illinois Bell is now AT&T, and when you do a search for Illinois Bell, you get nothing. But if you know that they've bought by AT&T, and you do a search, you'll see one that says AT&T, formerly known as Illinois Bell. So you can see here, Bell South was what they were. So it is pretty good, but you kind of have to have an idea of what you're applying for. So in this case, let's say, I know I said CDWG, but let's use the local provider there in Hudsonville is Charlie Incorporated. Let's see if they show up. They do. So I'm going to use them as our example. I do have to click the button in front and say, yes, that is my provider, and click Save and Continue. If you are concerned that you don't have the right SPIN number, most of the time, though you do have to search for it, you can go to the provider's website and look around and do a search for E-rate and find a SPIN number for that particular provider. Or you could email your person and say, hey, what's your SPIN number? It will say, is this a multi-year contract? In this example, it is category 2. It is not multi-year because I'm going to get my stuff, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to be good. If you're signing a new 3-year contract, of course, the answer would be yes. And then it says, what is the date you awarded your contract? For giggles, we're going to say 10/20/2017. And I am going to get a warning that says you have not waited your 28 days. So I know I have to go past that 28 days, and it's saying you have not waited your 28 days. If I try to change that to 10/20/2018, it will say that is in the future. You can't pick a date in the future. I'd kind of like it if the other one was red too, though, to warn you. I'm going to say, oh, that's right. Okay, let's pick today. Today is the 15th of February. And I'll say, today is the day I awarded my contract. It will ask you if the contract includes voluntary extensions. As part of the modernization 3 years ago, USAC pretty much required you to be on a 5-year or less contract. They were really very much encouraging 3-year contracts, foreseeing that prices would significantly drop over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. And so a lot of people did a contract for 3 years with 2 years of voluntary extensions. It does have to state that in the contract to check this button. They may allow you to do like voluntary extensions, but you'll need to have an addendum to your contract in order to do that if it doesn't outwardly state it. Technically, if it does not have voluntary extensions, you have to go back out to a 470. It wants you to bid every 3 to 5 years because they want you to get the best pricing. Again, pricing confidentiality. A lot of our providers have something in there that says there's a rule or restriction for pricing confidentiality. Districts who have checked this button and have said, my contract says it's a confidentiality thing, USAC has come back and said, we, the FCC, trump you. Sorry about it. It is not confidential. We are going to put it on Compare and Connect and other things. So that is one of the other wonderful things about the modernization. Before the modernization, we did not see it even ask you for documentation if you say, yes, that's confidential. Before the new modernization, all of this was done in secret behind closed doors, and you didn't know that somebody else was getting a better deal than you. The modernization was supposed to put it in your hands. So here's all of my wonderful information about my contract. I love E-rate contract number 1. Has my fake contract in the matrix built in. If I click Save and Close, it will take me back to my drafts, and it will be there in my drafts. I cannot attach it until it is approved. So see how I was working on it? I have to click it again and edit. And I must be able to save and continue. Go through here. So if you have part of your contract today, but not the other part, like you have the contract of the bid itself, but not the signature pages, you have to go ahead and submit it or make a fake one like I have to use as a placeholder until you get all of the details in and uploaded, and then you can attach it later. I didn't know it was going to take me back to the very first screen, or I wouldn't have done that. Yes, 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 save and continue. It's all right. Here's my whole contract, and I'm going to say complete, and now it's going to list it in my available contracts. Fun discovery from yesterday. If you want to actually see your existing contracts that are in here and know what those contracts say, because it will be asking you for the ending date of the contract, and a lot of you don't know that off the top of your head. If you brought a printed copy, you're set. If you didn't, if you scroll back up to the top where it says related actions, we're going to choose contracts instead. This is the only place that I'm aware of where I can actually click on it and then also click the documents and see what they said. It will download it and let you see it. So you, for some reason, in manage contacts, you can't view what's there, but you can in contracts from the top. So questions or comments about updating your connectivity info or your contract uploads? Anybody want to question me about if something's a contract? Yeah.
With the contracts, we've never applied at the regional office for category 2.
Okay.
And we're still doing category 1.
So this is your first category 2 application.
We're not doing category 2.
Oh, you're not going to do category 2 even yet? Okay.
No. Well, we get everything kind of donated.
Right.
It's old, but it works.
Yeah, it works. Conservative.
However, do I need to do this for category 1?
You do need to do it for category 1 if you're signing a new contract. A lot of our regional offices operate on a month-to-month basis, so it is just a monthly bill, and that will be a choice in our 471 where we would choose month-to-month billing. But if you have signed an actual contract for a set number of years, then we will upload the contract and put it in here.
ISP is a contract is up.
Okay, so you are up with a contract. You can have a conversation with your ISP. The risk of running month to month is that there's no agreement on paper that says they will keep your pricing the same.
No, I think we're going to have to take like a 3-year contract.
Yeah, and that's been the case. So several years ago, so you need to get that agreement, that 3-year agreement that you're talking about. You need to get a copy of that and upload it, and that would be your contract for that agreement. And then when we get into the 471 and we choose contract, it will say which contract, and we'll attach the ones we just put in.
And will that be there in the 471?
Yes, then it kind of sucks all the information in for you. So the other question or comment there with the month-to-month, please beware. Several years ago, one of the providers in our state, pretty heavily used provider for our T1 lines and our Metro E lines, when those contracts expired, they didn't say anything to you. All of a sudden, you just got a bill that used to be $400 a month, and now it was $1,700 a month, and everybody was like, what? I think they did send, in their defense, several emails warning you that that would happen, that everybody ignored, and then you took it seriously when it was $1,700 a month, and you had to pay $1,400 more. You went, wait, and then they, I'm sure, had lots of customer service requests that day to change and settle on a new contract. So if you find that when you are looking at your contract expiration dates and your contract is expiring in March or February of that year, please have a conversation with your provider and find out if they will extend your contract those 3 months to get you to June 30th, or if you need to sign some kind of an addendum with them to cover those 3 months. Or if they absolutely are not going to do that, if you should be filing early. Because a lot of our contracts with our providers have small wording that you haven't that you have read at one point, but now you've forgotten. Was that politically correct? That says if you don't tell them anything, they'll just automatically renew you. So please note when that contract end date is and have a conversation with your service provider about what that's going to look like at the end of the contract to take you to June 30th. Just request June 30th. I know that you're signing it in February or March for the next 3 years, but make it in June 30th. It's going to make your bookkeeper happy. It's going to make USAC happy. It's going to make you happy. Let's just get all of our dates in alignment. 3 years ago, when we started rolling out high-speed fiber internet across the state, we didn't really consider that. And so now it's causing people some heartaches this year. So please do try to line out those contract dates. When it comes to student counts, if you find that your student counts are different, typically we would go in and click on the buildings, and then we would go in and change the student counts. That's the right way to do it. That's how we did it in our 470 demonstration. Now that we are locked out and the 471 is open, you can make a note in the narrative. I'll show you where to do that, of how to say, hey, this building actually has this many students. Hudsonville has an example. They have a good example of how to fix that, so we'll do it. There's also the option of, after filing a 471, when you go in to look at the 471, there is a button that doesn't appear before it's submitted, but once it's submitted, there's a button called a RAL, which allows you to make adjustments to your 471 after it's been submitted. You can click on the RAL, and then you can change your student counts. So that is 2 different options for changing the student counts if you find that they're incorrect. ISB has updated their seamless summer option meal eligibility form with their counts, and it does show this year's fall housing as well as this year's CEP. CEP actually isn't due until April. I think it's April 1st, which I find ironic. But CEP isn't, it is last year's CEP totals because they don't show up until April. But that spreadsheet is up there if you want to see what Jamie will be using for validation of your student counts. So I'm going to take a little break because the next page that we are going to do is, are you ready for the 471? So we're going to actually get into the 471 and file it. I'm going to take a little 5-minute break and let you stretch and let you get your binders out and ready. Your contracts all pictured and uploaded. Find that app on your phone to make it a PDF and upload it.